it's Ev. In this video I'm going to talk about a topic that I've sort of avoided talking about because I tend not to want to make videos about like my opinions and controversial topics and stuff because I don't really want to get into all the trans drama and stuff like that. Yeah, in this video I'm going to be talking about the whole transgender thing, but I'm not going to make a video about the whole general topic. It's more specific about something specific that I've noticed within the trans community, and it's to do with chest dysphoria, people showing their chests or being comfortable with their chests, and people being called transtrenders, and kind of the link between those two things. You'll see what I'm talking about. But yeah, if you're completely clueless, basically in the trans community, people get called transtrenders by other people in the trans community who think that they're not really trans and they're just faking it for a trend. But yeah, like I said, I'm not going to get into the whole general topic. I've noticed kind of a double standard that trans guys that are very masculine, especially if they're on testosterone, if they naturally have quite small chests, or if they're just like very masculine presenting and stuff, they can kind of show their chests. They're not sort of shamed for not binding. If they post pictures where they have just like tape over their nipples and stuff, that's generally seen as fine, which I agree, that's absolutely fine. But guys that are more feminine, maybe aren't on testosterone, maybe like more feminine clothes or colours and stuff, if they're more comfortable with their chests, or if they post pictures where they're not binding, I'm not saying like completely topless, I mean like if they're wearing a top but not a binder, or if they have like a small amount of their chest showing, or even if they're wearing a binder and they have their binder showing, other trans guys call them transtrenders and kind of attack them for it and say they're not really trans. How can you be trans if you're sat there and people can see that you have boobs, that kind of thing. And the other thing is that it's generally seen as acceptable, and you can absolutely still be trans and not have lower dysphoria and not want lower surgery, which again I agree with. But if you don't want top surgery, you don't have much chest dysphoria, then you're called a transtrender, and people say you're not really trans, you're faking being trans. How can you be comfortable with your chest if you're a guy? How can you be comfortable not wearing a binder if you're a guy, so therefore you're not really a guy? People say that kind of thing. Basically there's an expectation that you have to have like severe chest dysphoria to be a trans guy, but there's not that expectation for having severe lower dysphoria. I'm going to talk a bit about my experience with chest dysphoria and with like top surgery and stuff, because I think my experience isn't the norm, and I think people don't realise that not every trans guy has the exact normal trans guy experience. Like, people think everyone experiences being trans in the same way, and that's not really true. Also, by the way, I'm talking specifically about trans guys in this video because like I'm a trans guy and that's my experience. Obviously there are trans women and non-binary people, but this video is more about trans guys. So yeah, I am a trans guy. When I was young, my chest first started developing, I was very uncomfortable with it, very dysphoric. Obviously back then didn't know what dysphoria was, but I was very uncomfortable specifically with my chest. However, once it had developed and I kind of got used to it, those feelings of dysphoria kind of just faded into my general dysphoria and discomfort with my body, and from then on I never really looked at my chest and felt disgusted and dysphoric and like horrified and wanted to rip my skin off and all these like typical thoughts and feelings that trans guys typically have, you know. I could look in the mirror and see my chest and like not really think or feel anything. I wasn't uncomfortable looking at my chest. When it was developing it was a different story, but once it had developed I never looked at my chest and felt horrified and disgusted, like, ever. Also, I used to go out, sometimes I'd wear a binder, especially if I was meeting new people and I wanted to be perceived as male. But like if I went out with my friends and I knew all my friends respected me as a guy, this is after I came out obviously, I would be happy to not wear a binder. I would know that strangers would look at me probably see me as a girl, and like I could deal with it. So most of the time I just didn't wear a binder, and I was fine with that. This is kind of a different topic, but eventually, once I've been on T a longer time, especially like if I hadn't had top surgery now, I wouldn't be comfortable going out without a binder because I have a beard, and if I had boobs and a beard, then people would know I'm trans. But yeah, like I said, that's kind of a different topic. Just thought I'd add that in though. But yeah, my chest dysphoria kind of faded into my general dysphoria with my body, and it wasn't something I was specifically focused and like obsessed over. I do have other things that I'm like very dysphoric about, such as lower dysphoria, hip dysphoria. Like if anyone calls me my birth name or something, that makes me extremely dysphoric. But my chest dysphoria was never that intense, is my point. I felt very uncomfortable if like my chest was kind of brought up in conversation, but in general, it was never like extreme or intense. I have actually had top surgery now. I actually had my initial top surgery, and then I had a revision surgery to make it more even and flat on this side. But yeah, it might be confusing or surprising, but having top surgery made me like so much more comfortable with my body, so much less dysphoric in general. Like I said, my dysphoria, chest dysphoria kind of faded into my general dysphoria, and now I have a lot less dysphoria in general. I'm a lot more comfortable with my body, I'm a lot happier with the way I look, I feel a lot more mentally healthy. It definitely was worth getting top surgery, even though my chest dysphoria was never a specific focus that I was like obsessing over and stuff like that, which you might not be able to understand, but that's fine because you don't really need to understand it. Just want to clarify, just in case people interpret this very, very wrong. I'm not saying that I just got top surgery for no reason, because like why would I do that? Obviously that's not what I did. I didn't ever want boobs. I didn't like them. I always felt like it wasn't meant to be like that. It contributed to me generally feeling disconnected from my body, and I did feel an intense disconnect. So I knew surgery was right for me, but I'm saying I didn't have the intense feelings of disgust and like the normal trans guy feelings about my chest. I could go out without a binder on and I could deal with it, and I know that's not considered normal, but yeah, that was my experience, but I'm still trans. Like, that's my point, is that not everyone has the same experience. Just thought I'd clarify, because I really don't want people thinking that I paid all that money and went through 2 surgeries just for no reason, because, like, I'm not crazy. Okay, just making sure. But basically, I feel like if I'd have sat here when I was more feminine looking, hadn't been on T as long, maybe like before I had top surgery, if I'd have sat here then and said this and said I go out with a binder on, I don't really mind if people, like random strangers, perceive me as female, I can look in the mirror and I'm not disgusted. If I'd have sat here and said that then, especially like if I had pink hair, people would have called me a transtrender. But if I sit here and say it now, people within the trans community, I'm guessing, probably aren't gonna say that I'm not really trans and I'm actually a woman, because I'm more masculine looking now, because I've obviously got a flat chest and chest hair, facial hair, so people respect that I'm a man. Me 2 years ago, if I'd have sat here and said that, I'm the exact same person. It's not like I'm a man now, but I was lying about it then and I was a woman then. I'm the same person. And there are a lot of trans guys out there, and non-binary people, trans women, who identify how they identify, and other people say that's not really who they are, they're faking it, because their experience isn't the norm. Like, there are probably other trans guys out there whose chest dysphoria isn't that intense, and other people say, then you're not really trans. But not everyone's experience of being trans is exactly the same. Not everyone has to have the same kind of dysphoria as you, or the same intensity as you. Not everyone has to be suffering like you. I see a lot of trans guys saying, my dysphoria is so bad, and I'm a trans man. So if yours isn't, then you're not a trans man. And that's not how it works. And you telling other people that they're not really men, that isn't going to make anyone else see you and think, wow, he's manly. It just makes you look like you're really insecure and immature, like illogical, and you just kind of come across like a 12-year-old boy who wants to seem manly. That's just how it comes across. No one's going to see you as more of a man because you're telling other people that they're not men. And just because you have a specific kind of dysphoria and you feel a certain kind of way and you're trans, that doesn't mean everyone else that's trans has to feel the exact same. Not everyone's experience is going to be the same. I'm so happy with my top surgery results, to the point where I went back and got a revision whilst awake to make it like a little bit more flat on one side. And now I'm like so much more happy, so much mentally healthier, my dysphoria is so much better. Like, I'm so glad I did it. There's not a single part of me that regrets it. But I know if I was like more open about not binding that much and stuff back then, people would have told me, you're not really trans, you're faking it, you're gonna regret getting surgery, you're a woman, that kind of thing. Same as like, now I've been on T for a while, and I've got facial hair and stuff. I can dye my hair. People probably, I know people outside the trans community are going to comment saying that I'm a woman, because that happens all the time, but other trans guys respect me as a guy. But pre-T, I feel like dyeing my hair and stuff, I would have avoided dyeing it pink, just because there's like such expectations for you to be so masculine and to make every effort to be as masculine as possible, when not all men are masculine, not all cis men are masculine, so obviously not all trans men are going to be masculine. If a cis guy isn't very masculine, does that make him a woman? No, obviously not. So if a trans guy isn't very masculine, that doesn't make him a woman either. My main point for this video is, to be a trans guy, you don't have to have really intense chest dysphoria. You don't have to wear a binder all the time. You don't have to want to. I know it's a separate thing, people that can't wear a binder for medical reasons, but also if you just don't feel like it, if you're able to go out without one and you don't want to put one on because it hurts, so you don't have to do that if you don't want to, and if you don't want to, that doesn't make you a woman. And anyone that says that's you is probably just really insecure and not very logical, so just ignore them, really. Everyone's experience of being trans is different. Everyone's experience of being a guy is different. Everyone's experience of being a human is different. Obviously, not everyone's gonna think and feel exactly like you. And if someone has a different experience to you, that doesn't mean they can't use the same label as you or be the same identity as you. Trans guys aren't all the same person, is basically what I'm saying. So yeah.